In the headlines, 2 people killed, 2 abducted, and dozens forced to flee their homes as bandits invade communities in Niger State. Despite stalled negotiations, the federal government determined to rescue Kaduna abductees. Governor Wike pledges to take result of PDP primaries in good faith. And on the foreign scene, Russia claims the entirety of a key port city now under its control and wants a small band of holdout fighters to surrender or die. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Updates. I am Martia Omar. Thanks for joining us. And now the news in full. 2 persons have been shot dead while dozens of residents have fled their homes as bandits in their numbers invaded Kaduna and Naknuwapi communities in Shiroro local government areas of Niger State. 2 other persons, including a girl, were also abducted during the attack that happened around 7 p.m. on Saturday. The bandits were said to have launched the attack when villagers were breaking their fast on Saturday. The spokesperson, Coalition of Shiroro Association, Salis Muhammad Sabo, told Daily Trust that terrorists are on rampage in Kaduna and Naknuwapi suburbs of Wadda. And he said that they also barged a shop. Other people take their phones to charge and went away with many phones. Wadda, one of the towns considered safe in Shiroro local government, houses one of major IDP camps with over 4,000 internally displaced persons. The Niger State Police Command's Public Relations Officer DSP Wasiu Abiodun could not be reached on telephone at the time of filing this report. And the federal government says its main priority is the safety of the abducted victims of Kaduna train crash, which is why it is not considering a frontal attack. And the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Gadbashir, made this a clarification on Saturday when he spoke to Trust TV News. The report.
There has been a rigorous back and forth over the last 2 days over the fate of victims abducted during the Kaduna train attack. Relatives of the victims have been very emotional and have drawn the attention and sympathy of all Nigerians, and particularly government. But what is the true picture of things? Is government in negotiations with the kidnappers?
Government will find a solution. If the idea is to rush things, as some people are suggesting, go and bomb them. If you bomb them, you're going to kill both the terrorists and the captives. And then it is no longer a rescue operation.
Government is worried about the new collaboration between Boko Haram and the bandits, but it says it is a scenario that was anticipated.
Northeast terrorism had declined, acknowledged internationally, by more than 90%. So it's not surprising that a few had splintered and had found their way into safer areas of the country. The thing to say is that the military, the defense establishment in the country is getting weapons. They have re-strategized, and they have repositioned the troops and leaderships in some of these areas, and we're hoping that the results will begin to show in the coming days and weeks.
There is some good news coming in the midst of the dreary security situation in the country, which is that the U.S. Congress has finally approved the sale of military equipment to Nigeria.
There's also politics involved. They have to agree to sell to you. In the case of Nigeria, concern over the years had been about human rights abuses, and they refuse to sell to us. Now, I'm happy that President Muhammadu Buhari has broken, the barrier. He has convinced sufficiently the Americans that we are fighting terrorism, and the results are showing.
Despite the daily digest of horrifying reports of insecurity in the country, the president's spokesman is confident that at the end of his tenure, President Buhari will leave behind a positive legacy. Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And victims of Kaduna train attack may not have been a target of bandits on the 28th of March. And this is according to a relative of the abducted victims, Dr. Abdul Malik Atta, who claimed to have engaged with the bandits 11 times since the incident. Dr. Atta, whose relatives were in the attacked train, claims in Kaduna on Friday that he said the bandit told him that the people in the train were not the target but had become collateral damage. Let's take a look.
I've spoken to the bandits. I was one of the first guys that spoke with them. I've spoken with them 11 times. And aside me, I don't think any other person has done that. 11 times. And what did they say? The first instance, they said they had their targets on that train. That it weren't our parents and sisters or brother that they aimed at. But these were just, in quote, necessary evil they had to do with them. And what did they tell me? That the governor has been running his mouth. And that's why they came to his doorstep. And this is just the beginning, that they will go further than this. I spoke with them. They told me that. The only relief we had was we knew, as at the time we spoke to them, that was 2 days before they freed the other guy, Alwan, before they freed him. We spoke as at that was last Monday was the last, but immediately they got their money. What else do you want? That money that was given jeopardized the release of the other victims. Let's say the truth. We can't afford it.
And a human rights activist and lawyer, Femi Falana, has faulted the state pardon granted to former governors of Plateau and Taraba, Joshua Dariye and Jolly Nyame, respectively. The former governors who were jailed for corruption were pardoned alongside 157 orders at the Council of State's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday. Speaking during the one-year Remembrance program for the late Publicity Secretary of the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization, Yinka Odumaki, Falana described the release of the politicians as discriminatory.
2 governors that have been jailed. You now say you want to pay after stealing billions of naira. And somebody asked me this morning, Mr. Falana, what is your reaction? I have no reaction. So what do you mean? My reaction is that all criminals, all thieves, all petty thieves in our prisons should be released. All. You know why? You know why? Because under Section 17 of their Constitution, there shall be equality, equal rights for all citizens. And Section 42 of their Constitution says there shall be no discrimination on the basis of class, gender, whatever. So you can't take out 2 people on the basis of the fact that they belong to the ruling party. It's illegal.
And the need for the younger generation to take over the mantle of leadership across the country has been again emphasized. Youths across political divides in Kwara State re-echoed this at a sensitization meeting in the state for women on the need to collect their voters' card ahead of the 2023 general elections. The report.
The meeting, which was organized by youths of the state chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, provided an avenue for them to challenge other youths to collect the voters' card to enable them actualize the expected change of halving the younger generation in leadership positions instead of being used as political thugs. One of the organizers, Mukhtar Shagaya, appealed to youths to come out from being shadow followers and champion the cause of entrenching youth leadership by obtaining their voters' card to effect the desired change.
The time has never been more crucial than now. If we look at the state of the country right now, there are so many things that we will look at that we don't like. And as we make up a majority of this country, we, the youth, the women, the people that are dedicated towards the future of this country, that are going to actually live inside the future of this country, I think it is paramount that we do not take a back seat anymore, and we start to put ourselves at the front, and whoever can contribute in whatever ways we can. And the best way to do that is to have your PVC and vote and elect people that have been doing things for their populace, for their own people, prior to the date of looking for any political office. I think that is far more important, and that's what people should be looking at as we go forward and as politics season is approaching.
The same message has been echoed at another location where a press conference was held by the Coalition of Kwara Youth and Professionals. The coordinator believes that there is the need to change the narrative of youth being used for other purposes to one that places them on the front burner of leadership.
To change this narrative, there have been caseless calls for inclusion of the young people in the scheme of our national affairs, to tap from the creativity, innovation, vibrancy, energy, and curiosity of characterized usefulness, to rescue our various localities, states, and Nigeria at large from the past pervasive socio-economic and political integrity it has been plugged into. Young people are critical stakeholders in Kwara and Nigerian politics and governance of today, because we are most affected by government decisions and actions. More importantly, the precarious situation of our dear states, Kwara and Nigeria, find itself capable of glooming the brightness of the future we seek. Hence, we need for us to take the lead, championing the cause to change our narratives for the best.
Meanwhile, a prayer session has been held by market men and women in Kwara State for divine intervention and the insecurity affecting the country, as well as the need to enthrone responsible and competent leadership come 2023.
And to more political matters, national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, says Nigerians are tired of the excuses and lamentations of the past in regard to the country's numerous challenges like unstable power supply and banditry, adding that a united and a banditry-free Nigeria is possible if he's elected as president in 2023. The former Lagos State Governor spoke at a grand rally by youths under the aegis of Progressive Youth of Southwest to declare their support for his presidential aspiration at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikon area of the state. The youth from different states in the region like Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Ekiti, Ondo and Oyo states had converged in Lagos in their large numbers to drum up the support for the aspiration of the national leader of the party. Addressing the crowd of youths at the arena, Tinubu urged them to team up with him in his bid to change the story of Nigeria for the youths and tomorrow, which they represent. Also speaking, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who appreciated the grand support for Asiwaju Tinubu, noted that youths will continue to be identified as critical stakeholders, just as he is to exercise their franchise wisely. The report. And in another development, the governor of Rivers and a 2023 presidential aspirant, Nyesom Wike, has said that he would remain in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, even if he does not win the presidential ticket. He said this while addressing stakeholders of the Niger State chapter of the PDP on his intention to contest for president at the party secretariat in Mina on Saturday. He added that there was nothing wrong with consensus candidate if it is based on equity, justice and fairness. Wike solicited stakeholders' support in the state party to enable him become the flag bearer of the party, adding that he is the only candidate who is capable of defeating the All Progressives Congress APC in the 2023 presidential election.
What anybody will do, I will never leave this party. I will support this party. Whoever that emerges, I will do everything I can to make sure the party wins the election. But what we want us to understand is that we are not just trying to go and run for election. If it is to be presidential candidate, you can go to any party and pick ticket. So I will answer former presidential candidates. And let me thank the leadership for keeping faith, for standing firm to make sure this party is united in Niger State. I know what it used to be. I know how congresses were botched, but you stood firm. It's because of your firmness, that is why you see today your party is united. And if you continue this way, I believe in the name of Almighty Allah that next year you will occupy the house of Niger State.
And you're watching the news update on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at the story of a 14-year-old Kano female Tyler. This and many more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Trust TV News Update. But before we take a look at the other stories, let's take our top stories again. We told you that 2 people have been killed, 2 abducted, and dozens forced to flee their homes as bandits invade communities in Niger State. And the federal government says its main priority is the safety of the abducted victims of the Kaduna train crash, which is why it is not considering a frontal attack. And to more news, the minority caucus in the House of Representatives has felicitated with Nigerians on Easter, the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And in a statement by the minority leader of the House, Ndudi Elumelu, the caucus expressed the faith in God that Nigeria will overcome all her challenges. Elumelu noted that the season points to the victory of life over death and reinforces citizens' hope and confidence. He stated that no matter how miserable the situation might be under the current leadership, Nigeria will surely overcome the people's trust in God and for one another, love and for one another, and determination to unite and democratically enthrone a purposeful leader in the country. Elumelu said it is important that Nigerians as a people begin to look out for one another irrespective of social, ethnic, religious and political differences in order to foster the national rebirth that everyone yearns for. And in another development, in an attempt to enforce standards and quality healthcare delivery, the Katsina state government has wielded the big stake in a popular clinic in the state capital. The renowned Okomus clinic located at Kofarkora in Katsina metropolis was closed down on Friday with immediate effect. Abdullahi Yamadi tells us more.
Excuse me. The Katsina state government says it is closing down this private clinic to save people's lives. The committee led by Permanent Secretary Katsina State Minister of Health, Dr. Kabir Mustafa, has the backing of armed security personnel. But is all this necessary?
Our intention is not to kill the business, but our intention is to make sure that the business operates based on our regulations.
What are the reasons for what looks like a high-handed response from government? The Permanent Secretary explains that the clinic management has failed to meet requirements that guarantee safety and quality health care.
And then finally, when you improve and meet up with what requirements we have, then we can.
It would seem that the Health Ministry had exhausted all available avenues to avoid closing the facility and was left with no other option than to adopt the recommendations of its committee and close down the clinic. The proprietor of the clinic was presented a document which he signed as an acknowledgement of the formal closure of the Okomos clinic.
Served Kasna for more than 30 years.
It's not a question of serving Kasina, it's doing the right thing.
I've been doing the right thing. If there is no observation, if there is any observation,
I'm not here to bargain.
Please, just comply.
Beyond this closure, people in Katsina are waiting to see whether or not this committee will sustain proper monitoring and regulation of health facilities for effective health care delivery. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And now to the story of the 14-year-old female tiler. And they say tiling is a craft dominated by men, designed to create an atmosphere which adds to the look and feel of living space. In our world, there's always the opportunity to embrace diversity. One of the ways to do that is to recognize and appreciate the saying, what a man can do, a woman can do better. This is the story of Kano-based 14-year-old Fatima Sakibo, who is on her way to becoming a professional tiler. Let's take a look.
14-year-old Fatima Sakibu has been coming to this house for quite some time, hoping to complete the styling job she has started. This little girl became a tiler some 3 years ago after watching closely how her father Sakibu Sharada conduct his styling job.
Whenever my father is going to work, I do follow him to see how he is doing. I became interested and one day asked my father to let me try. At first, he says I can't do it, but when I finally did, he became very impressed.
SS1 student of Government Girls College Kano, Fatima only works during weekends or holidays, yet she is now the Nigeria's best female artisan, overall best young artisan, and as well as the best female tiler.
This job is very important to me because whenever I work, I usually give him the money to help the family. It has also helped me gain scholarship and 3 awards.
Zuwa Construction Artisan Award, wanda gurin da na ga manya da yawa, amma kuma gaskiya na yi mamaki abinda Allah bai taɓa bani ba, ko mutum ba zai siya ma da kuɗi ba, na samu award guda 3.
According to Fatima's father, it was a surprise to him how Fatima quickly understands styling, which is why he couldn't make any move to stop her from following her desire.
The first time she asked me to try, I told her she can't do it. It's for the men. But she insisted. Therefore, I gave her to try. But one thing that surprises me is how she suddenly learned everything.
Although Fatima is becoming popular and famous with tiling construction in Kano, still, she follows her father wherever he goes, hoping to learn more. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And now to Yobe State, where the governor, Bai Malabuni, has signed into law the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, the VACT Act, to protect the victims and punish offenders in the state. This was disclosed in a statement issued on Saturday by Yobe State Director of Information Services, Hajia Husna Ibrahim. According to the statement, the governor also signed a bill for a law to establish the Yobe State Justice Reform Team to coordinate the various justice institutions and other matters, as well as a bill for a law to provide for the protection of the children in the state and other related matters that it do respectively. And meanwhile, Yobe State has won the 2021 Federal Inland Revenue Service Award among states in Zone B as best performing revenue remitter. Muhammad Mayanda, FRS coordinator of the zone, made the disclosure in Damaturu on Friday when he presented the award to Governor Maimala Buni. States in the zone are Yobe, Borno, and Bauchi. Mayanda said Yobe performed exceptionally in the revenue remittance and had become the role model for the other states in the zone to emulate in collation and remittance of revenue. And on the international scene, Russia says its troops had completely cleared the key city of Mariupol, and only a small number of Ukrainian forces remain inside the steel factory. It adds that if Ukrainian forces in Mariupol lay down their arms starting at 6 a.m. Moscow time and 3 p.m. GMT, their lives will be spared. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky threatens to withdraw from peace talks with Russia if Ukrainian fighters in Mariupol are killed. And he also calls the situation in Mariupol inhuman and urges allies to provide more weapons and Ukrainian forces. Meanwhile, Russia has announced the death of a general whose troops have been besieging Mariupol, and Ukraine's military says Russia's troops are having significant problems with provisions, and there was a growing discontent among the soldiers deployed at the line of combat. And to sport, Nigerian athlete Favour Freely has broken Blessing Okagbare's 200 meters national record at the Tom Jones Memorial Classic 2022. Okagbare previously held the national record since 2018 at a time of 22 minutes 4 seconds. And Ofili ran a blistering 21 minutes 96 seconds to also become the first collegiate athlete to ever go sub 22 seconds with the time, and she also emerged as the first Nigerian female to break 22 seconds in the Nigerians 200 meters. Her time is also the fastest in the world this year and the fastest ever in the NCAA and a new school record. She is the 2019 African Games silver medalist in the 400 meters and 2019 African Youth Champion in the 200 and 400 meters. And with that, we've come to the end of the news update on Trust Television. You can follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for being a part of the news, and stay tuned.